I get a lot of questions about how to make more currency in Path of Exile. And personally, I don't make all that much by mapping, at least not most of the time. Instead, I go for things like logbooks, crafting, and much more. But I know a lot of players do want to map, and a lot of people don't know how to get started. Sure, when your build's fully up and running, making money is easy. But how do you take that first step when your build isn't that good? So today, I want to talk about a money-making strategy, which is still quite good once your build is up and running, but also works even if all you're able to do are white and yellow tier maps. My assumption behind this is you've gone up to reds, you've found that your build isn't really that good yet, and you need to farm a few key upgrades. You have a little bit of money. You can buy some mapping supplies, but you don't have a ton, and you certainly can't afford to spend 30 or 40 C for every single map. In fact, that should sound downright exorbitant. Now, for my test, I was making 7 divines an hour, but how much you make will vary. The economy is constantly changing. The more people use a farming strategy, generally speaking, the less value you get from it. And the more in demand certain things are, especially crafting supplies, which we will be farming here, the more valuable things will be. So do some quick price checks on certain key items that I'll talk about more towards the end. For now, what's the setup? Running any white or yellow tier maps as fast as you can. Each map is worth about 1 chaos each. You'll use a fair number of remnants of corruption, which are about 1.3 C each. You put essence on the map device, which is 3 C. You have bestiary scarabs, which are 90 C, and Harby scarabs, which are 88 C. Here's a rough look at what you should have for your Atlas tree. I was guessing that you had around 80-90 points, though this is going to vary by quite a lot, so feel free to adjust and drop some less impactful nodes, which in terms of that, I'll have a link down in the description of the Atlas tree, and you can kind of look at the order I used and drop things that don't matter quite as much. The goal here is to kill the Harbingers, to capture the important red beasts. You can capture them all like I was, but honestly that's a little inefficient. It's far better to run past most red beasts after learning to visually recognize the more valuable ones. And then you also want to kill the essence monsters. Keep in mind that all 3 of these things are almost just as effective in a tier 1 map as a tier 16 map. Essences are identical between tier 1 and tier 16. Harbingers are identical, aside of a danger, between tier 1 and tier 16. And in terms of beasts, you are missing a couple. Ferric Tiger Alpha comes to mind, as does, I believe it's the Krakic Vassal, but ultimately a bulk of your profit comes from Krakic Chimerals and Phenomenal Plague Arachnids, both of which can drop in low-level maps. One of the trickier and more expensive things is using remnants of corruption. This can significantly enhance the amount of money that you get from your essences, and it's also 1.3 chaos per attempt. With up to 4 essences per map, that can get quite expensive very quickly, so you want to do it the right way. Here are a few rules of thumb. First off, there's 4 outcomes when using a remnant of corruption: randomizing essences, upgrading them, adding an essence, or doing nothing. Doing nothing is always a loss of money. Randomizing can either increase or reduce the value, upgrading is always a gain, and adding an essence usually isn't too much because it often puts on a whaling essence that I have hidden on my filter. So first off, you should always corrupt the purple essences Misery, Envy, Scorn, and Dread, because these corrupt into special essences that are worth a significant amount, roughly 15 C each on average as of the time of this video. Other good essences include Loathing, Contempt, Wrath, Zeal, Hatred, and Anger, but this is likely to change due to supply and demand. You also want anything you corrupt to have 1 or more Shrieking Essence by the time you're done with it, because monsters with Shrieking Essences are twinned. So for example, if a monster has 1 Screaming and 2 Shrieking Essences, you'll get 2 Screaming and 4 Shrieking after killing it, worth an average of 4.48 C. If you corrupt and hit upgrade, you now get 2 Shrieking and 4 Deafening, worth 10.26 C. So the upgrade is worth about 5.78 chaos, which is why you want to use your best judgment. If there's an Essence of Loathing, that will result in a much larger bump when upgraded. However, if there's both an Essence of Loathing and an Essence of Zeal, that could result in a loss when re-rolling. You'll just have to play around with this and see for yourself what feels best. Personally, I think the sweet spot is when an essence has at least 1 Screaming and at least 3 Shrieking. In terms of everything else, be sure to kill the Harbinger, be sure to kill for red beasts, look out for spiders, look out for frogs, and kill the boss at the end if you want some extra master missions and potentially map sustain. Don't be afraid to buy maps in bulk from Kirak by running the map missions. because this is a really good way to replenish your stock. Now, it was taking me roughly 2 minutes per map, so around 3.3 hours to run. Let's round this up to 3.5, since I'm sure I wasn't go speed the entire 3.5 hours. But now that I've talked about how to do the strategy, what did the strategy yield? Well, I got 3 Ferrix Link Alphas, which are about 8C each, 9 Ferric Apes worth 5C each, 13 Ferric Wolf Alphas, 11C each, 1 Sakowine Rex worth 7C, 1 Finable Hybrid Widow, the Venomous Beast, worth 6C, 11 Finable Plague Arachnids worth 93C each, 9 Kraken Camaros worth 84, which in total is about 12.21 divines in beasts alone, which already is pretty darn good. In fact, you could make even more money just running maps as fast as humanly possible and only doing beasts. Though, personally, I'd find that very tedious and boring, and I don't know how much more profitable it would be. Next up, moving on to the Harbingers, I got 13.05 Annuls, worth 9C each, 18.85 Ancients, worth 5C each, 2.25 Exalts, worth 11C each, 1.15 Fracturing Orbs, worth around 5 Divines each. Now, this was actually really lucky because I got a Fracturing Orb drop, which is a 1 in 20 when the Shards drop, so do keep that in mind, but I also got no raw Divine drops, and my other RNG could have been worse in terms of Essences and Beasts, etc. I did a 100 map sample, which by no means is perfect, but does give you a pretty good idea. That said, if you want to be pessimistic, just take away 5 Divines here. The total is 7.18, or 2.18 if you're feeling pessimistic. And then finally, I used a bulk trade to total the Essences to 10.5 Divines. It's really hard to calculate the Essences one by one, because there's 3 ways to sell Essences. First off, the easiest. Bulk sell it on TFT. Go to the Forbidden Trove Discord, bulk want to buy entire tabs, and sell to someone there for 85 to 90% of the ninja price. Early League, I generally don't advise doing this, but you would get 9 Divines from the Essence if you did. The thing to do here is if you farmed for maybe an hour and just want to get rid of everything as fast as possible to buy upgrades, that's when you'd bulk sell. Next up, you could also upgrade all the Essences to Deafening and sell via the trade site. Let's use the good Essences I mentioned before as a comparison. Loathing was 4C, Contempt 5, Wrath 4, Zeal, Hatred, and Anger 3C each for Deafening. But if you have 30 plus and you bulk them up, Loathing goes to 5C, Contempt to 6, Wrath stays the same, Zeal goes to an impressive 4.5, Hatred to 3.4, and Anger to 3.3. So you'll average out about 15% more profit by upgrading and selling all as bulk Deafening, again via the trade site, for around 12 Divines total. Finally, the truly insane option is to bulk everything up and sell each individual essence for its own listing. You'll get 20 to 30% more profit there, but it also adds a lot of time. You might get 13.65 div, but it could take 30 minutes to an hour to price check and post every single essence. So personally, I'd go with number 2 or number 1 instead. Now, assuming the default ninja price for essences, the grand total in profits is 29.89 divines. The cost was 5.05, the net 24.84 div, which is about 7 divines per hour. Not necessarily the single best moneymaker in PoE, but absolutely insane given how low the investment is, the fact that you can do it in white maps, and the fact that you don't need a super powerful build. This is absolutely something that I could see myself doing if I was struggling in early red maps, or even mid-tier red maps. Maybe I failed a pinnacle boss and I just needed a little more money, but it's not something I could see myself sticking to for a very long time. If you want to know more about something I could stick to for a very long time, either making money by crafting or expedition, then do be sure to get subscribed, and after this, check out my ROG crafting stream, where live I broke down how to profit from ROG early league. Don't worry, there's a video coming soon, and anyone who's subscribed is much less likely to miss it. But with that said, what do you think? Could you see yourself making money this way? Or if not, what's your favorite early league money-making strategy? Be sure to put those down in the comments below. And of course, before I go, a special thanks to my patrons and channel members for the continued support. For as low as $1 a month, you can help make videos just like this one possible. Link is down in the description. If you need something else to watch, maybe you're flat broke and can't even buy these supplies, then check out my heist video, which is great for getting those first few bits of chaos together. Or check out the rug crafting video for something a little more advanced and far more profitable. Or you can always go for a recommended video if it's on screen right now. Thanks for watching, I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you again sometime soon. If you really like money-making videos like this, do be sure to let me know down in the comments, and I may make more of them.